Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. We're glad you're here with us today, and as a reminder, we're also streaming this meeting on YouTube. It's Wednesday, June 24th, 2026, and we'll begin our meeting shortly, but I just wanted to welcome everyone here tonight on this beautiful summer day. We'll begin with an invocation by Pastor Carol Fulton, Children of Zion Outreach Ministry, and we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ed, could you check that the microphone is on? Or Curtis? Thank you. Is it green? Yes, please. Thank you. All right. First, I'd like to, as we get started, I'd like to congratulate everybody involved in Juneteenth. It seems like we had the biggest celebration that we have had of that event. Ernie, if you could come forward just a moment and share with us some of the information from this year's event.
Can you hear me? You good? Okay. So this year was our 5th Juneteenth event. We had the Buffalo Soldiers come and present. We had Joy Cohn sing. And then we had our fireworks drone show to end of the festivities of the night. This year was kind of interesting because we faced quite a bit of competition in the area. Greensboro had a large food truck festival for Juneteenth in Greensboro, and then High Point had their festivities as well. And this year we had 1,600 people attend using Placer AI. I use my crowd tracking, so we had at the 7 o'clock hour about 890 some people in the park, and then it peaked at 8 at 1,600 and went through the whole rest of the length of the event. So that was a huge, and it's pretty impressive when you have competition. Usually we don't. Last year we had 1,400, so we went up by 200 people. So that was pretty interesting, pretty successful event.
Thank you. Thank you to you and your staff for the hard work, and many of the vendors, all the vendors who came out for the event. JR, do you want to say anything about it?
Oh, we also had some line dancing too.
Yes.
Yeah, that I really enjoyed. We danced for 33 straight minutes non-stop.
Very awesome. Thank you. So we'll begin with a special presentation, and this is by Ayana Suarez, who is a high school student here in Kernersville. Ayana, if you'd like to come forward, put the microphone somewhere you're comfortable speaking, and tell us about what has been happening with you recently.
Chwet askinahe giate yakut ke hoisne gisete tois gawachaka diwagat nutne. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ayana Suarez. My native name is Yakutike Hoisne, meaning her mind is strong. I am of the Snipe clan of the Maharan Nation. And this summer, I ran for Miss North Carolina Native American Youth Organization. And I will be representing all Native youth in our state, as well as all the tribes and Native organizations. I will be going to cultural events and powwows representing our youth and encouraging others to learn more about our Native culture and encouraging youth to stay in school, stay involved in sports and cultural activities. I am also promoting my platform, Rooted in Rising, which is honoring the land and empowering our future, empowering our youth to be grounded in their culture while also having our communities be more sustainable in their communities, as well as promoting more environmental awareness around our state. I will also be attending the National Unity Conference in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma this summer, where I will be representing the North Carolina Native American Youth Organization, also known as NCNAO. I attend the North Carolina Leadership Academy, where I am a track athlete and cross-country athlete. I am the oldest of 4 daughters, and I live here in Kernersville. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayana. If you could step forward, we'd like to recognize you. That was a wonderful presentation. We really, truly enjoyed it. Ayana and her sisters have helped follow the tradition of a young lady named Raven, who was a Glenn High School graduate, who was an Indian princess for the state in an older young adult category. And she was an Indian princess around her high school year's graduation, and she helped, as one of her efforts, spread awareness of Indigenous Peoples Day in North Carolina, and Kernersville has been participating in that observance, and Ayana and her sisters have helped carry the torch with Raven as Raven has gotten into her career and busy with other things. So we really appreciate Ayana and her 3 sisters, and we have just a little certificate of recognition from the town of Kernersville to give to you tonight. Hold a second. This problem with not having a stand microphone, but to Ayana Suarez, as mayor of the town of Kernersville, and on behalf of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen, I hereby present this certificate in recognition of your outstanding achievement and excellence. We wish you the best in all your endeavors in the future. Thank you very much. Thank you again. All right, let's give Ayana another round of applause. So our next item on our agenda is a presentation of a proclamation declaring July as Parks and Recreation Month. Ernie or your staff, could you come forward? I think many of you have learned by now that our parks and recreation opportunities are wide-ranging. Our Parks and Rec department is everything from keeping grass mowed at certain places that if it grew, you would be complaining. There's a lot of little strips of right-of-way through the town along railroad tracks, miles and miles of it, in fact, that we spend a lot of time mowing and keeping trim, especially this time of year. But importantly, Parks and Recreation contributes to the quality of life. We have several small parks. We have one larger gem of a park. Over the years, it has grown from about 50 or 70 acres to over 200 acres, and that's Ivy Redmond Park, where we do host the state cross-country tournaments and a lot of local and regional meets, and as a great playground and a lot of more features soon to come at it. It's where we had our big celebration of Kernersville's 155th birthday this year as well, and the Recreation and Event Center, which we hope to someday expand to host even more youth tournaments. But 4th of July Park, Harmon Park, our smaller parks, Ivy Redmond Sports Complex, all of these contribute to the quality of life of our citizens and contribute to the environment. So we'd like to recognize Ernie and his staff in honor of Parks and Recreation Month, the entire month of July. And here's some of the news about the current events and current happenings and current plans for our Parks and Recreation Department. So Ernie, I'd like to present this to you and to share some of your insights.
Sure. As the mayor said, we have so many opportunities, so many different avenues to recreate. We offer active recreation opportunities, passive, where you can come out and you can camp or just sit in the grass and enjoy yourself at Harmon. But some upcoming things we're looking at doing is renovating Harmon Park, and we're going after some grant funds now for that. Expanding our greenway. We have a great greenway in downtown going from Kilburn to Oakhurst, so we're looking at hopefully future expanding that and connecting it to Greensboro and to Winston. So, and then the expansion of Ivy. So there's a lot of things happening. We're always asking the community what they'd like to see, what kind of opportunities they would like to have available to them. So we're always trying to improve and expand. So it's been great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Shake everyone's hand if you want.
All right, cool. I'll do that.
All right, this concludes the ceremonial part of our agenda. If you just came for the ceremonial part of the agenda, feel free to leave and we will take no offense. All right, so moving on now, we have the public session, speakers from the floor. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on an item that is not included on the agenda? Keith, have you gotten any speaker cards? Okay, seeing none and seeing no one come forward, we will move on from that to the next item on the agenda, which is discussion and consideration of a proposed downtown mural. This agenda item was brought to me by a citizen about 3 weeks ago, and I talked to them today, and they are not pursuing the request to put a mural on town-owned property as of tonight, so it might come back, but I don't know if we need to take any specific action or just move on. So there's no one to present and there's no issue to discuss on that, but we did want to get it on the agenda in the event that there was a presentation tonight. Okay, the next item is consideration of a downtown event request by the Kernersville Arts and Craft Guild. Mr. Swisher?
You have in your packet the event application. It is for an event August the 22nd. They've done it several years. It's in Harmon Park. It's called the Homegrown Arts Fest. It's an arts and crafts show. It will be from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. that day. And again, they've had it for several years, never been any issues with it. So staff is recommending approval of their application.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion for approval by Alderman Thompson and a second.
Second.
By Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. All in favor? All right, it is unanimous. All right, item D, consideration of an ordinance for Budget Amendment 12. Mr. Swisher?
This is your last budget amendment for this fiscal year. Kind of getting tired of doing them, but this one is just cleaning up mainly some items in the capital project ordinance funds. One of those is the $1 million that the town borrowed to do the Shields Road widening. We're moving it over into the general fund to do that widening project. They have started that project. If you've not been down Shields Road recently, they have started the grading. DOT is the one out there doing it. They will do the grading, get the slopes, and then they will do the widening for that project. So we need to account for that. And the other one it was several months ago, we told the board that if we had some money left from the building, once everything was finalized on the building and everything, we would move that over to use for the sidewalk on West Mountain Street. We were thinking we would have about $700,000 in there. It's going to work out to be about $400,000 when it's said and done. That is a second transfer. We're moving from the general fund back to the capital project fund, the 1.19 million. We've got some other transfers in general fund revenues and the capital project ordinances. Again, it's mostly cleaning up projects that we've had in capital project funds, getting that money back to the general fund to where we can spend it. In the end, it's an increase in the fund balance appropriated $839,000. Again, $1 million, I do need to say that, $1 million of that transfer for the Shields Road is in a capital project. So it's in our restricted portion of the fund balance. So it's not impacting the unassigned fund balance. So when it's all said and done, you see there the total appropriation to date of 6.1 million. That's really 5.1 million. I've broken that down so I can give you an update. Of the 5.1 million, about $3 million of that is carryover from, it was in the first budget amendment, which was carryover from the end of fiscal year 24-25. So that comes out of a different pot in the fund balance as well. It doesn't come out of the unassigned fund balance. So really from the unassigned fund balance right now is what we're showing as being appropriated as about $1.7 million. And again, that's right now at the end of the year. When revenues come in, they're finalized. When the expenses are finalized, that number usually comes down. So we're anticipating that coming down as well. Our current fund balance, estimated unassigned fund balance rather right now, is about 7.5 to 7.6 million. That's where it's been for many years. We're at about 14%. Our fund balance policy is 15%. But again, at the end of the year, when we finalize everything, show what the true revenues are that we took in and what the expenses are, we should be above the 15% again. So that's where we're at on this fund balance. That cleans everything up this year for all of our capital projects and all of that. And we're going to, we set up a capital project fund. As some of you that have been on the board for a while know, we used to carry projects just year after year in the regular operating budget. That got to be kind of messy, so we set up a capital project, and we don't always go clean those up when it's over with. So that's what we're doing here, is just cleaning those up to finalize them, close them out. Be glad to answer any questions that anybody may have. If you get real technical on it, you may have to ask Rebecca in finance.
Who is
may
here
go above my
tonight?
pay grade, yeah.
And Rebecca is here tonight, so.
The good thing is, though, we're still, the unassigned fund balance, which is what we have to, the policy and what we have to have by the state law, we're still around the 7.4, 7.5 on that right now. And again, that will change.
Okay, any discussions or have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt the ordinance for budget amendment number 12 for FY 25-26.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Apple, second by Alderman Sabanis. All in favor? It's unanimous.
And I will say on that, in budget amendment 1, we hope to be able to transfer about another $200,000 to $300,000 over into the sidewalk project from Mountain Street and Harmon Lane to get us up to that $700,000-800,000 we were hoping for. Again, we don't know what that project's going to, we've got a pretty good idea of Harmon Lane, but Mountain Street's kind of still a couple years out. But we hope to transfer some more money into that. In BA1, you'll see that probably in August, late July, August. And I'll make a note of it. I'll be sure and highlight that for you where the transfer is.
Okay, any questions or follow-up from that agenda item? All right, item E, F, and G. Mr. Swisher, if you could handle those.
Yeah, E, F, and G are all notices of intent to reimburse for either general improvements or equipment that was included in the 26-27 budget. All of these items were approved in the budget. We do these in notices of intent to reimburse. So if we go out and purchase those before we get the loan for them, then we can reimburse ourselves. We can't Otherwise, we can't reimburse ourselves. We've got a couple of pieces of equipment that we may buy pretty quickly before we get the loan, because it'll be several months before we get the loan. So we'll just reimburse ourselves once we get the loan. And if you'll vote on each of those separately, it would be good.
All right, any questions? All right, do I have a motion to approve the item E, notice of intent to reimburse for equipment?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham,
Second.
second by Alderman Pegram. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, now item F, notice of intent to reimburse for heavy equipment.
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Sabanis, second by Alderman Apple. All in favor? It's unanimous. Item G, notice of intent to reimburse for general improvements.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Pegram, second by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, now we are to item H, consideration of recommendations for volunteer boards and commissions. Town Manager Mr. Swisher has been working with staff on this idea for quite some time. The clerk has been involved as to issues when we had the last census, change in the allocation of ETJ appointments to help us better with our recruiting for service on boards and commissions. So, Mr. Swisher, if you could explain this idea and see what the board decides to do.
Yeah, and as the mayor said, we've been discussing it for a couple of years. Keith Hooker, myself, other board members. We have two separate boards. We have a board of adjustment and a planning board, and it's two different groups of members on each of those. And they meet at different times, all of that. The problem we have is not necessarily with the planning board, but the problem we have is with the Board of Adjustment getting a quorum to the meetings. And they don't meet, they have a set day they meet, if they meet, but they may not meet every month. They only meet when they have a case. So it's difficult. They may go 3 months without a case and then have a case, and we just can't get a quorum. I think it was in 2024, 2025, we had a citizen coming in that had a case before the Board of Adjustment, and I think it got continued 3 times. Is that right?
And the case that would have been October ended up being pushed all the way to February.
Yeah. So it got pushed back from 1 year to the next year. So with that in mind, Keith and I and have talked to the nominations committee about consolidating those boards and have the members that are on the planning board also serve as a board of adjustment. It's 2 different types of cases. The board of adjustment is quasi-judicial, so those folks have to be sworn in, all that good stuff. But it would be the same night, and they would come in, they would hear the board of adjustment cases first, and then hear the planning board cases. If there is a board of adjustment case, they've had some, especially if it's an appeal to an interpretation by staff. Some of those cases can last a pretty good while. So at that point, we recommend having the board of adjustment on one night, planning board on another night, unless they don't have any planning board cases. So nominations committee has met. They've recommended this as well. So you have in there, Keith has put in there a chart that shows who's on there. They'd be reappointed when their current term would expire. So ultimately, we took all of the planning board members that were on the planning board. I think there were 2 vacancies. We moved up, the nominations committee is recommending moving up Michael Nichols and David Collins to that consolidated board. And then Debbie Jude, Victor Evgen, and Jeff Manter would be the alternates, and then Suzanne Meyer would be the alternate in the ETJ. So the good thing is the planning board, the board of adjustment, they both have 1 ETJ member. Nathan Meyer is the ETJ member on the planning board. Suzanne Meyer is ETJ member on the board of adjustment. So those 2 folks, again, would move up to serve as a member of the planning board and the Board of Adjustment, and the other 3 would be alternates. The way that would work is if someone was not here and they needed a body, they needed a person for the Board of Adjustment, one of these 3 alternates would serve on that Board of Adjustment portion of the hearing. They would not then be on the planning board, they would just be on the Board of Adjustment part. And then there's 3 members that their term would basically has expired and would not be renewed, and they are Joe Ornstein, who's the chair of the Board of Adjustment. He was not interested. Lance Antio, I don't know if we ever got in touch with him. He has not been coming very often. And then Trey Prescott, who just got appointed, he's not even came to Board of Adjustment meeting yet. I don't think, you haven't had one since he's been appointed, have you? Have you? Okay, so there has been one. So that's the recommendation, is to consolidate those 2 boards, move 2 of the individuals up to full-time members, and then the other 3 would be alternates, and then the 3 that would not be renewed at all.
Trey did have a family emergency that he communicated. That's why
Yeah,
he couldn't.
I just couldn't remember even if they had had a meeting since he was on there. Be
So-
glad to answer any questions I can, Keith can.
So I do have some questions because the roles and responsibilities of the 2 boards are somewhat different. And could you explain how the planning board, or ask Catherine to explain how the planning board does not utilize alternates, but the Board of Adjustment does, and kind of how that all works and why?
Other than we just never have had alternates.
Because
for
it
I
would
don't
make
know if-
common sense if you're having a consolidated board.
Yeah,
I'm pretty familiar with the functions of both boards, but I don't know that that's commonly understood that, the planning board, you can't have alternates sub in as far as how we've been operating over the years.
it's
Whereas Board of
probably-
Adjustment, you really need to have the full board. So if Catherine could explain this, why there's alternates for some things and why not others.
Yes. The Board of Adjustment locally has, in our rules of procedure, says that 8 members make a quorum. So the board is about 12, and so we need, or 10, so we need most of our members there. That tracks with the state law, which requires that for variances, there's a 4/5 majority vote, rather than just the simple majority. So I think 8 out of 10 is the 4/5 vote. So we have alternates, so that way we can make the quorum to get that vote should there be a variance on the item, on the agenda. But since it's adopted in our rules of procedure, we always have to have the 8. So that's our standard quorum. So it's a safety measure to ensure that we have enough people for a meeting.
Okay, and then explain similarly the planning board.
Planning board doesn't have requirements in state law about any sort of special vote for any of their cases. Everything is a simple majority. So planning boards don't typically need alternates. As long as you've got a quorum, then you can meet. I don't know that there's anything that's prohibiting having the alternates also, fill a planning board seat. If there was somebody from planning board who couldn't make it and the Board of Adjustment, combo member could, I think it'll just be up to how we want to adopt our local rules of procedure for that.
It would be good to research that and see if it's a possibility. That was a factor the nominating committee didn't have access to what we just know our procedures.
Sure.
Okay. Alderman Spanis,
I have some questions.
go ahead.
So will we need to change our code to do this? Like our code of ordinances?
I don't think so. I don't believe our code, or I know our code doesn't, and I don't believe our charter does either, does it?
That's correct. We would still technically have 2 separate boards, the planning board and the Board of Adjustment, because the Board of Adjustment does have the alternate seats. And I believe the state law basically requires that because of the quorum requirements for Board of Adjustment. And I don't believe there is anything in state law that allows alternate seats for the planning board, although it may not necessarily be prohibited. But we would have technically 2 separate boards. Each person would serve on each board simultaneously with matching expiration dates, with the exception of the alternates for Board of Adjustment.
Okay, and also, I was looking right before this meeting on our code of ordinances that talk about the Board of Adjustment. this might not be relevant to this, but the general statute that authorizes it apparently was, how did they put it? It was repealed
Imagine that.
in 2020, so we might need to review the Board of Adjustment for that. But
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're not doing things that we shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think they repealed the general statute of the way it was originally structured throughout the state, but there's another bill that came in after that that reestablished it. So, but we'll check on it and make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Catherine, you, when you were working with Jeff, when he was still here, you did a whole study of those updates, and there were dozens that we adopted when they were reorganizing some of the planning and development ordinances. Was that addressed? Because the new law would apply.
We updated the zoning ordinance to reference the new law when the state consolidated planning and zoning laws for counties and planning and zoning laws for municipalities into 160D. It had been like 153A and 160A, so they were all recodified as 160D. So the UDO is right for 160D. It may be that the code of like the town's code of ordinances still references 160A. So that's why you're seeing it was repealed, because it was repealed and replaced with 160D. But our UDO references are correct.
Thank you, Catherine.
Sometimes we've made the change and the company hasn't uploaded it. You could check on that too.
I don't think we've made that change to the reference in town code though, but
Okay.
we'll look at it tomorrow and make that change.
Thank you for catching that. Anything else?
I found the new one, and it does say that the planning board or governing board could perform any of the duties of a board of adjustment. So it seems like we're covered.
I'm not sure we can hear you, Curtis, because your microphone's off.
I said technically this board could probably serve as a board of adjustment, but I don't think you want to get into that.
I think it's helpful to have the citizen point of view.
Yeah.
And sometimes developers change the plan between the time it goes to the planning board and the time it comes to the Board of Aldermen. They work out some of the issues that the neighbors had found in the plans that were proposed.
Most of our Board of Adjustment cases deal with folks needing a variance on the setback for an accessory building or something like that. But we've had 2 or 3 where developers have appealed a decision by community development on something, and that's where that appeal goes to, if it's an appeal of the interpretation of the UDO.
I think your mic was off if you would like to summarize what you just said so everyone can hear it.
So most of our cases that go before the Board of Adjustment deal with variances, someone wanting to do an accessory structure, and it's the variance. They have to come in and get a variance because they can't meet the setback requirements. But the last few, we have had several, not several, but we've had 2 or 3 where there was an appeal to a decision community development made regarding the UDO. That's where those appeals go.
Okay, any further questions? Any further? Oh, there's
I just wanted to say,
Mr. Hooker, go ahead.
Mr. Swisher is correct. There are some communities where the elected board also serves as the Board of Adjustment, but what is much more common, especially in smaller communities, and by smaller, I'm including us, not just the very small ones, but what is much more common is for Planning Board and Board of Adjustment to either have the same members or to actually officially be combined into one. The benefit for us of keeping them separate is A, we do have alternates for the Board of Adjustment that we don't have for Planning Board, and B, if we were to officially combine the 2 boards, then that gets a little more complicated as far as our ordinances go. Right now, our ordinances call for a Planning Board, and the Board of Adjustment is specified in the UDO. Having the same people serve, but on 2 different boards, keeps that clean.
Thank you for your input. All right, any other questions, observations, comments, discussion?
Madam Mayor, I would move that we accept staff recommendation on the consolidation of the Planning and Board of Adjustments as recommended, and that we approve the nominees themselves that are
So
submitted.
the recommendation of staff and the nominations committee to
Yes.
do this?
Yes, ma'am.
And to do the appointments as
As
it's specified?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Everyone understand the motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Apple, second by Alderman Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, we appreciate, I have to say, Keith, I think you served on Board of Adjustment for several years and Planning Board.
Thank you. Yes, 6 years on the Board of Adjustment, 6 years on the Planning Board.
So I served on the Planning Board for several years, and it can be tough because there's a lot of, there are public hearings, there's, in the Board of Adjustment, quasi-judicial, so there's actual presentations of evidence. It's a lot to hear, to reflect on, to discuss at the Board of Adjustment, discussing only at the meeting because you're serving as a judge, but Planning Board, it's more legislative process, so you find yourself standing in the backyards of citizens or in their living room hearing about their concerns about proposed development. So it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of commitment, and we truly appreciate all of that effort and time that has been put into it by our members of our volunteer boards and commissions. We have additional boards and commissions other than these two, but this moment when we're talking about the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Board, the members play a very important role in the democratic process for our community, and we really appreciate each and every one's service. So I wanted to thank them for all of that. All right, did we vote? Just want to double check. All right, I've got a motion, I've got a second. All in favor? It's unanimous. Did you get the motion was by JR, second by Chris? Or wait, the motion was by Bill, second by Chris. Okay. All right, Duncan, when you call me tomorrow, that's what it is. Sometimes I think we ought to start doing a action agenda after the meeting because there's sometimes questions about what was the final vote on things. So that might be a helpful thing for us to do, procedurally. What do you think, Mr. Swisher?
Mr. Hooker does one, it doesn't go to the board, it just comes to me.
Oh,
I
maybe.
mean, we'll be glad to send it to you.
Yeah, please send it to me because Duncan will call me and say.
And all it says is, it doesn't have any minutes to it, it just says basically what the vote was. Who made it, who made the motion, and what the overall vote was.
Okay, yeah, please add me to the distribution of that.
The action agenda doesn't even say who made the motion. It just says the board voted 5-0 or 4-1, and members voted against it. It's very simple.
Okay, thank you. All right. Moving on. We are to the consent agenda. These matters are considered to be routine by the board and will be enacted by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the matter will be removed from the consent agenda and considered under the following item. A, consideration of an ordinance for Forsyth County to collect Town of Kernersville taxes for 2026. B, consideration of an ordinance for Forsyth County to collect Town of Kernersville taxes for prior years. And C, consideration of an appointment to the Recreation Advisory Board. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to see any of these items, A, B, or C, removed? Any board members? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Savanas, second by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. All right, that brings us to briefing on the July 7th
We have to
meeting.
vote.
All in favor? Sorry, going too fast. It's unanimous. That brings us to Mr. Swisher, briefing on the July 7 agenda items.
First item on the agenda is a public hearing that is for the Congress Gardens Incorporated. It's property located at East Mountain Street and Snowbridge Lane. It is the old Dudley campus. This was one that was continued, I think, from last month or the month before. So they plan on, I think, having that ready to bring back. Have you heard any different? They're going to continue it again. They've got some issues that they're working out with the site, so it may very well be continued. Item B is for property at Rosewater Avenue and Glenview Drive, which is right behind the new, is it Caribou Coffee? It's 2.59 acres. They're requesting to add the use of a child daycare center and a medical and surgical office. That was not in the original uses requested. Item C is a text amendment to come into compliance with state law. So what this does is it removes the time limits on resubmittals of denied legislative and quasi-judicial applications. As you all may know or probably have seen in action, it was, if someone came in for rezoning and it was denied, they had to wait 2 years before they could bring back the same exact plan, 1 year before they could submit a different plan on the same parcel. Now that is gone. There is no time frame. They can resubmit it the following month if they can get it ready that quick. Actually, they don't even have to get it ready. They can bring you back the same exact plan and resubmit it. This is the way it used to be back in 1997, 98, all the way up through probably the middle of 2000s. And the board implemented a time frame on that, and now the state legislature has said you cannot do that. So it's what it does with no time limits, no resubmittal time limits. Basically, you might hear the same case 3 or 4 months in a row if they feel like paying the resubmittal fee and all of that. They can do it and resubmit it and just keep bringing it in here. The most times I remember hearing one was we heard the same case 3 months, I think, in a row. Same case, same exact case, nothing changed on it. Same outcome every time. They finally got the hint and quit bringing it until they changed it. So you might have some of those as well, but this is state law. We have to comply with it, so we need to change our UDO.
Each time it comes, we would post it, and there'd be the newspaper notice and all of that. So
Correct.
neighbors just need to pay attention to that.
Correct. Yep. It'll have to be fully advertised just like it was the first time. And of course, they have to pay for that. So it's on them if they want to do it. Item D is a text amendment to our UDO, adding language about on-street parking within the T&D zoning district. I think this has been at the request of some of the developers that have a T&D district. Weldon, looking for some more on-street parking. I think staff, y'all work with them, no issue with adding that, correct? Item E is a text amendment to reflect updates to the adopted flood insurance rate maps. We do this when they update the maps. Then public session items, item 2B, item 2A is speakers from the floor. Item 2B is all of the nonprofit funding contracts. As I told you when we were going through the budget, we do it this way now so that if 2 or 3 board members might sit on one of these boards, they can recuse themselves from voting for this particular funding contract. If we didn't do it this way and there were 2 or 3 of you on the board, you would have to recuse yourself from voting for the entire budget, which might make it difficult for the budget to pass if 3 of you have to recuse yourself. So if you're on one of these nonprofit boards, when it comes time to vote on that particular contract, just say, hey, I need to recuse myself, and you can do so, and we'll vote on it. Item C is nonprofit funding for nonprofit agencies that receive occupancy tax funding. And then you have the consent agenda, and that's it.
Okay, any questions? All right, let us move on to the next matter on our agenda tonight, which is the town manager's report.
I have 2 items that you have on here and then 2 more items that aren't on. They're all pretty routine. These 2 items, that's why we added them. The first one is a grant, not routine, but it's a grant that we received. The board in 2025 gave the Fire Rescue Department permission to apply for a grant through the Homeland Security for what do they call it? It's a big tent, but it's an environmentally controlled shelter is what it is. It's a pretty big tent, has heat and air. They would use it, as you see in the memo, during times of disasters, including natural, man-made, and terrorist threats. It also can be used as a command and control center, decontamination, medical care. I think we used one at KVille 155, 250, didn't we, Chief? Yeah. They also had an exercise, the county had an exercise out at the mountain bike park, Trav Park, where they used one similar to what we'll be receiving. So they applied for the grant, and they were awarded the grant, $80,000 to cover the cost of that. We will receive 2 tents, but one of those is a pass-through. One of those will go to Davidson County and one to us. No cost to the town. So if the board will chooses to approve that, if you would vote on that, we will let them know that you have voted to accept the grant.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion for approval from
Second.
Alderman Thompson, a second from Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous.
The other item, B, is the salary and compensation and the pay scale for the employees. This goes along with the budget that was just adopted. The salaries and wages line item in every budget was basically calculated and put together using this pay scale. And so we have that in there. We'll update it next year with whoever's in the pay study. I think next year it may be fire department. So we'll update that portion of it, bring it to you as those pay grades move and get adjusted so that the board can approve that. We also have in there the town's pay incentives, where we offer some incentives for different things. Some of those are, you get them when you come on, get hired, increases your pay. Some of them are for special teams, like in PD, we give a 3% bonus for folks that are on crisis negotiation, 3% for SWAT. They don't stay on, they go on when they're on the team, and that 3% comes off when they come off the team. So we have those listed out, as well as the pay scale. Alderman Sabanis did find an error in it today, so if you saw it earlier and haven't looked at it, we had the community development directors. The maximum she could make was $0 and the minimum was $7, and she owed us $1 when she got her developmental pay. So we did correct that so that she would be paid accordingly and not by her pay scale. So the one in here does reflect the update. So I'd be glad to answer any questions. Ms. Whitley's also here if you have any as well. And our pay, to give you a little bit of background, this pay scale, we meet with representative from the Piedmont Triad Council of Governments every year when we do the pay study. And they come in and they take different municipalities across the state, across the triad. This is how we get our pay scale. That's how it's created. The minimum, maximum, and midpoint is based on those. And so they come in every year, as I told you in the budget, do a third of the workforce. So this may, and it may not. There may not be any changes to it when we do the pay study every year. There may not be any. But if it is, we'll bring it in and let you see that and update it.
Curtis, is some of this data, didn't we incorporate by reference some of that into your contract as well?
You did.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Sabanis, second by Alderman Apple. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right.
The other item, one of the other items is, I think I sent out an email to you all yesterday about a local volunteer fire department, Piney Grove Fire Department, had an accident yesterday with their fire truck, one of their fire trucks they have stationed. I think they said that one was actually out of Piney Grove, on the station on Piney Grove Road. Had an accident and totaled the truck out. We've got what was a reserve truck that we received from Colfax. It came with a deal with Colfax when we merged with their station. We got that truck. We just tried to put it out and sell it on Gov Deals. We didn't get a bid on it. It's a 1995 model. So we didn't get a bid on it. The chief asked me if we could loan it out to Piney Grove. I'm like, yeah, that's fine if the board approves it. He and I talked today, and we feel like receiving no bids on it at the auction if this board so chooses. Instead of loaning it out to them, just let them have it. I mean, we've got no use for it. We were selling it. It was a reserve when we had it that we received for free. And again, we put it on Gov Deals, received no bids on it. It does need some work, but not a lot. But it's definitely better than the truck that they currently have, which is totaled out. So if the board would see fit to do that, someone make a motion to give it to them. If you don't want to give it to them, we would at least like to loan it to them until they can get another truck, and then we would put this one back up for sale on Gov Deals, I guess, and probably just take whatever we got offered for it.
I would move we give it to them, Mayor.
Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Apple,
Second.
second by Alderman Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous. And I think maybe everyone doesn't realize, but we have a lot of mutual aid agreements across different departments. And so if there's any kind of house fire, there's at least 3 engines that respond. And so that can be Kernersville engines, and it can be neighboring departments. And so there's close working relationships with all of the fire departments in Forsyth and Guilford. So, it's really giving them that fire engine. It's unfortunate that there's had such damage to it that it's not functional, but I feel like that's improving fire safety for everybody in the area. So I think that's a really good decision by the board, so thank you.
And the last item, Ernie and I received an email yesterday from the lady at Visit Winston-Salem, who is in charge of kind of sporting events, different events for this area. And she sent us an email and asked us if we would like to bid on the USATF, United States Track and Field Association. I think that's right. USATF, yep, Track and Field. For the 2028 and maybe the 2029. She said 2028, but I think it's 2 years. National Cross Country Championships for youth. So everybody high school age and under. If we would like to bid on that, Ernie and I, we've looked at the packet. There is a $12,000 host fee associated with that. Ernie talked to Bonnie Bernat. That's who we're dealing with. He talked to her today. It's Winston and Greensboro both would like to go in and bid on it and do it here. There's not a course in Winston-Salem. They can't put one together in Greensboro. So Greensboro and Winston would both like to do it as being the bid group, the group that does the bid, and host it here. We even need this board's approval because of the host fee. We think they'll cover the host fee. There are some other expenses involved, but we would bid on it, and then if it gets down, because the bid's due next week, so we've not had time to go through all of the expenses. If it gets down to where we look at it and it's like, this ain't gonna work out, we would not follow through with it. But ultimately, it's what it boils down to is you've got a $12,000 host fee, all the other fees involved with everything else in a cross-country meet of that size. It's about 2,800 kids that they would anticipate running it. It's a one-day event, but they come from all over the United States. So it's what Visit Winston-Salem and what Greensboro looks at is the number of hotel rooms. So you're basically got probably 2,000 hotel rooms associated with it because the majority of the folks are coming from outside of North Carolina. So then we would take that. We do get the revenue that we know we would receive would be the entry fees, $20 entry fee per person. So, I got $56,000 in entry fees. And then we think you can charge for parking. We don't think you can charge an admission fee, but we think you can charge for parking. So we're anticipating about 1,500 to 2,000 cars at probably $15 or $20 a car. So we'd like permission to submit the bid, and then if we get the bid finalized, we bring it back to you all before we finalize it. And if it's something that it looks like it's not going to work out, then we just withdraw from the bid. We've got some other areas we've got some other challenges we have to meet with the course and whatnot, but if we can meet everything, I think it would be a good meet to host since it is a national meet. Be probably the first national meet that we've hosted. Mostly what we've hosted has been state meets, from all across the state, but first national meet.
You know, Mayor, last week from time to time talk. Sorry. We from time to time talk about the economic impact of meets, regional, national, state meets, and so forth. This past weekend, the Marriott out off of 66, they haven't even had their groundbreaking yet, and they were full with soccer tournament kids and families. So it really, when you see that, that certainly attracts and justifies investment of major corporations that come and choose to do business in Kernersville as well.
That's a pretty big soft opening before the ribbon cutting. How many years have we hosted the state meet? Is it 12 or 14?
This year will be the 16th year, I believe. I think 2010 was the first year, wasn't it? So this will be the 16th year. We've actually got to bring back the agreement to renew it. They were supposed to get it to me 2 months ago, but the director of the High School Athletic Association is retiring, so I think they've been busy with some other stuff and haven't gotten us back the agreement. But it'll be 16 years in October.
I wasn't sure, like the counting COVID years.
Yeah, it's what they did was they doubled up with COVID. They didn't actually host it in 2020. We hosted it in January or February because we had snow of 2021. And then we hosted it the regular time also in 2021. We hosted it in November. So we had 2 meets that year, which I liked it in February. It was a lot cooler than it is in October, November, but you know.
Do you think we have enough parking to handle all of that?
Yeah, if it's just a couple thousand cars, we would. We park about 3,500 to 4,000 cars now for Friday Night Lights. So, and we've got extra parking now inside the park. So we would still, the plan would be to utilize the field across the street that we lease from Mike and Amy Stennett. And then if we fill that up, we would move them down into the park. But I don't anticipate filling it up because the way it's established, they run different courses, different lengths. The little kids, 7, 8-year-old kids run 2 kilometers. So they run it then. So they wouldn't be there in the morning when the older kids are running. So it would go all day, probably from 9 to 4:30. Would be the last race because it'd be getting dark. And we actually hosted last year on 2 separate Sundays. We hosted the regional qualifier for the national meet. So, I mean, we can host it from a parking standpoint. There's just some challenges, some technical challenges with stuff that I don't know if we have to do them. That's some other stuff we have to get in and find out is, do we really have to do it? It's on the bid, but do we really have to do it? So, you know, it may be that we get into it and they say, yes, you really have to do this. And we're like, we're good. We don't want to do it. So we'll see.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Got a motion by Chris,
Second.
second by Alderman Pegram. All in favor? It's unanimous.
And I think that's all I have.
Okay. All right, matters to be presented by the town attorney.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, I do not have a report tonight.
Thank you. All right. Matters to presented by the mayor and board of aldermen. Alderman Sabanis.
Yes, I know at the end of, I think it was May, we voted on a resolution opposing the Duke energy hikes, which was 18%. And while they have lowered it to 11.6%, that's still a bit too high, especially when I believe that the Social Security cost of living adjustment was 2.8% this past year. They're anticipating to be like 3 or 4% next year, but that's not going to be equivalent to 11.6%. And the average rate for residential customers is still the hardest hit. So I would like for us to consider an additional resolution saying that this is still not acceptable. And this one, in addition to being sent to the commission, the North Carolina Utilities Commission, also sending it to the Council of State and our local representatives so we can have our voices be heard clearly.
Okay, any discussion? All right, do you have you want to go ahead and make that as a motion?
I move to approve the resolution in opposition of the proposed rate increase by Duke Energy Carolinas.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Savannah, second by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right. And Keith, can you handle getting that sent out or helping Sarah get it sent out? Okay. All righty. Anything else before the board?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do we happen to know when the Macy Grove Road extension's opening, considering they said it was going to open or the light was going to turn on June 15th and that hasn't happened?
I do not. It's getting closer. They've got all the pavement, to my knowledge, all of the pavement through, and I don't know what they're waiting on at this point.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you'd heard
I noticed they had it striped. Everything's striped. All the lights seem to be up. The only thing I can think of is they may not have the lights synchronized just yet because of all the work I've seen them out there doing. I've not seen anyone yet doing the light synchronization, but I don't know.
Okay.
Is there anyone that we can contact to get a definite date on that?
Yeah, I'll email him tomorrow and ask him, see if he has.
That would be great.
Yep, and I'll let you know what I hear.
I
And
got a
then
lot
let
of
us know in an email or something like that, because I'm
Yep.
constantly getting that same question.
Yeah, especially when they said it was going to open the 15th and now it's, what happened? I don't know. NCDOT doesn't always share.
Just hang a left when you leave your house and go on down through there. Everybody follow you, it'll be open.
True.
That's one way to do it. But I'll find out and let you know.
All right. Do you have anything else tonight?
No, ma'am.
Bill, you got anything? No, ma'am. All right, JR?
Yes, I just want to thank the rec center and the staff again for all the work they did to bring our Juneteenth celebration to Kernersville in such an amazing way that they did it this year. I got a lot of compliments from our celebration and whatnot, and it's really growing when you think 5 years ago when we had our first Juneteenth, we had about 200 people in attendance. And we've grown from 200 to 1,600. That is staggering, I think. And it shows just what our community can do when we come together in unity. And the other thing was that it was the outpouring of all the demographics of Kernersville was in attendance. It was definitely a melting pot on a Friday night. And so to our community as a whole, thank you for the support. And we're always trying to educate our community on the significance of that celebration. So thanks again, folks, for all the help. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, JR. Randall? Okay, Chris?
Happy 4th of July. That's it.
Oh, happy 4th of July. Oh, this is the big day, America 250. So I hope everybody makes plans to have a great time with their family and friends and enjoy the festivities in Kernersville, the parade that the Rotary Club organizes, the fireworks and music organized, and food trucks organized by the town of Kernersville. And also, if you have little children in your family, Miss Mary's Parade is this Saturday. So I think registration may start at 9 and the parade's around 10, but the details have been well published by the Kiwanis Club of Kernersville. So it's a special patriotic parade designed for children 6 years old and younger who back in the day told Miss Mary, their preschool teacher, that they were told they were too young to be in the town of Kernersville parade. So this tradition has gone on for more than 40 years. And so it'll be this Saturday. And I understand the chamber has a music at twilight tomorrow at Senior Gardens at 6 o'clock. So there's a lot of great things to do outside and in the community in these next few days. Ernie, do you want to step up and give the dates and times for the, well, the date is July 4th, but the times and the different events for the evening celebrations?
So our evening events take place at the Kernersville Elementary School on the football fields. Festivities start around 6. And then we'll have music, food trucks, some activities for the folks to gather. And then the fireworks probably go off around 9:15. So it's dark enough to be seen, and it usually lasts about 10 to 15 minutes. So then we'll be done.
Thank you, Ernie.
You're very welcome.
All right. Is there anything further before the board this evening?
Madam Mayor, I have one other
Go ahead.
update. Mr. Powell reminded me, and most of you probably already know, but Senate Bill 889, the bill that was being introduced and ran up through the General Assembly about the moratorium on tax values. If you did a revaluation in 2026, the bill stated that you couldn't use those values to calculate your budget, which we did not. Part of Guilford County did their reval in 2026, so we have some property in that. That bill did pass. So just let you know, it's a good thing we didn't use it because we had to go back and do our budget again. There is another bill out that has been introduced that could have some, not necessarily significant impact, but it could cause a lot of work. There's a new bill that is out. I don't know, I haven't seen the status on it in the last 2 or 3 days. States that if you do a revaluation and you intend to go above revenue neutral with your tax rate, then you have to do a specific notice of intent. It's not just a public notice in the newspaper. You have to mail every homeowner and every property owner in Kernersville through certified mail, a letter stating that here's what your current tax rate is, this is what you currently pay. They already get that, so you got to duplicate it and tell them again. And then tell them what the revenue neutral rate is and what the proposed rate will be if you go above revenue neutral. So Kernersville, the portion in Guilford County next year, there's not a lot of property in there. But if that comes up and we have to go above revenue neutral in 2029, then if that bill passes, we would have to follow that. That's fine. I'm not opposed to doing a notice that we're going above revenue neutral. I think it's a little bit overboard to say we have to mail every homeowner a certified letter telling them that, because what does that do? That creates more expense for the municipality that the taxpayers are just going to have to bear. I mean, it's just more expense. They're trying to save the taxpayers money, but yet they're costing them money when we have to mail out all the notices of intent. In our case, we probably couldn't prepare that notice of intent, mail it out to all the property owners with the staff that we have. So that means we're probably going to have to hire part-time help to do it. That's just another expense. Their intent is so that you won't go above revenue neutral, obviously. But at some point in time, I mean, you may have to do that. So that bill's out there. I've talked to our representatives about it and let them know, hey, I'm fine with letting folks know, putting in the newspaper or whatever, but don't make us mail out these letters. That just costs the very people money that you're trying to save money for. The other thing that they have changed is that specific notice of intent. They initially said it had to be mailed out 30 days prior to the public hearing, which means we would have probably had to have ours out by May the 2nd or 3rd. We don't have our final round of revenue numbers from the county by May the 2nd or 3rd. So we would be using, not as completely accurate numbers to do that. So they did change that to where you only have to do it 14 days, which again, I mean, if you get a notice in the paper about a public hearing, then you get one that says something, 14 days before there's something else. I mean, I think that's probably leads to more confusion than anything, but it's not passed yet. It was introduced. I'll keep you posted on it if it passes, but it probably will in some form or fashion pass. Just don't know what that'll be.
Okay, thank you for the update. Any further business before this board this evening? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Thompson, second by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for joining us.